everybody. How are you doing today? How's everyone? On this thundery afternoon, I've just it's a bit thundery and lightning out there, so hopefully that'll pass. It's pretty muggy as well. I'm not in my usual office today. I'm in my my husband's junk room. Normally I'm in my office, but not today. So today I'm going to be talking about Candida and your gut health and how it's related to your hormones and the signs to look out for, what to do, and kind of where to start and where to begin, because Candida can be so freaking complicated and it can be so complex, and we can actually do more harm than good when we're treating Candida. So it's really important to, understand that it is Candida. Refocus your efforts and understand why you're getting it. Where is it coming from? Is it diet? Is it gut? Is it hormones? Is it methylation? Is it genetics? Is it liver? Is it gallbladder? Understand where it's coming from and then treat that. So Candida is not something you can just suddenly bomb. You can just suddenly take a load of antimicrobials or take a load of antifungals and just get rid of it. It's a real insidious condition that you really need to understand if you've got it first, if it is in fact Candida, or if it's something else that you've got. So Candida is a yeast, a fungal yeast. The main issue with Candida is it's opportunistic. It likes to grow anywhere and everywhere. So it can be growing in your sinus cavity, it can be growing in your ear, it can be growing in your vagina, in your anus, in your gut, on your skin, on your scalp, in your nails, very opportunistic. In your mouth, people that get tonsil stones at the back of their mouth and the tonsil, there's white, that can also be Candida. On your tongue, a white layer on your tongue. So it's opportunistic, it can move around, and it does thrive given the right circumstances. Some signs and symptoms that you might have Candida. So you've got sort of brain fog, fatigue, a fuzzy feeling in the brain, depression, sugar cravings, lots and lots of sugar cravings. That's something. As I mentioned before, the white coat on the tongue, that's a big sign. Joint pain, aches and pains, real joint pain, inflammation, gut problems, lots of smelly flatulence, bloating and wind, tummy aches, that's something. Sensitivity to alcohol, so you get hungover super easily. You have something to drink and straight away you're hungover, or you have something to drink and something exacerbates the next day. You might get dandruff, you might get flaky skin, you might get a fungal infection that flares up, you might get those little sort of like ringwormy type things that come up after eating beer. So that's something as well to look out for. UTI infections, UTIs. So if you're getting a lot of symptoms and you're getting recurrent UTIs, that's also something to bear in mind. That's also something to think about, because it could be the yeast or the Candida that's actually causing that overproliferation, and then that's affecting that. Current sinus infections, that can be Candida, because Candida will just think of your sinuses like a big cave, and bacteria and Candida and yeast and fungi will just grow inside. So sneezing, coughing, colds, that kind of thing, postnasal drip, that can be a sign. So as you can see, there are lots of signs, but here's the tricky thing. Candida you might not have Candida and you might have something else. It could be a bacteria. It could be something else. It might not be Candida. So it's really important to find out that you do have Candida before you start treating it, because you treat Candida differently to how you might treat strep or Klebsiella or staph infection in the gut, bacteria in the gut. It will be treated a little bit differently. The premise will be similar, like the first part of the treatment plan, treating the liver, treating the gallbladder. Now, the one thing about Candida is it does mimic estrogen. Candida actually excretes these toxins, and these particular toxins can mimic estrogen. So as I mentioned the other day, the more Candida you have, the more estrogen dominant you will become, and the more estrogen you have, the more it will feed your Candida. So it's a vicious cycle. So if you've got Candida and gut symptoms coupled with estrogen dominant symptoms, you're not going to get rid of the Candida unless you deal with the estrogen as well. So we're talking about liver here, lots and lots of liver work, lots of methylation, lots of gallbladder work, vitally important. And then you do the gut work. So it's very, very important, because Candida, you might notice if you get thrush cyclically, when you ovulate, you might have a discharge, but some women get a white discharge. They get more itchy down there at certain times in their cycle. Painful sex. Painful sex can be a sign of Candida overgrowth in the vagina. So, and some people have problems getting pregnant when they've got too much Candida down there, because it just changes the whole bacterial landscape of the vagina, but it also changes the mucus. The forming of the mucus doesn't allow the sperm to travel up as easily, because the Candida makes it more gritty and makes it more dry, and so it's hard, it makes it more difficult. So look at all of your symptoms. Do you have high estrogen symptoms? Do you have Candida symptoms coupled with chronic fatigue symptoms or liver or gut symptoms? And that will give you a picture about what else you're needing to deal with yourself. So if you feel like you've got estrogen dominance, if you're getting cyclic flares up of fungal infections, dandruff, thrush, that kind of thing, then most likely there is a hormonal implication. So then I would also do the hormone issues as well. Now, testing for Candida is quite important. There are tests that people do. They do the spit test to see if it floats in water, but it's not a concise test. It might say if you've got a little bit of yeast or fungi in your spittle, but it's not telling us what's going on systemically. So you can get a couple of different tests. You can get the antibody test. That's a blood test that your GP might do. I love the stool test, the complete stool analysis, CDSA, the complete one, when it tells you what fungals, what bacterias, good, bad, what parasites you have. Because if you've got Candida, you're most likely dealing with other things. And if you've got parasites in your gut, your immune system is switching from one immune system to the other. So if your body is allowing you to house a parasite, what that's saying is your immune system's kind of autoimmune, that immune system, the Th1, that's switched off. And so if you've got parasites or Candida, you also need to have a look at your immune system and rebalancing your immune system. Because if your body is allowing, a bit like when you get pregnant and you have a baby growing, your body will switch immune systems to allow that baby to grow, so it doesn't see it as a foreign body. So why is your system seeing a parasite and not as a foreign body? So it's that immune system, again, dealing with that immune system and working out what's going on there, so your body can do its natural thing and actually go get it and sort it out. There are some clinical trials where they've actually given people parasites to help with certain autoimmune conditions, which is quite interesting, because so there are some interesting studies that have been done with parasites, ingesting them in a little tablet, and it actually helps to regulate the immune system. So it's that's some quite fascinating material. I know there are some studies online about that. So some people do use antifungals, like the Nilstat and things like that, to try and get rid of the Candida. You do need to be careful, because these things do harm your gut, and they do kill good bacteria. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to take lots of things that are going to be killing that good bacteria, because the more you sort of disable that whole microbiome, the more you're really sending it out of balance, out of kick. So what you need to be thinking of is just nourishment. 20 billion good bacteria, fermented vegetables, not the kombucha, because kombucha will feed the Candida. So you want to be doing fermented vegetables. That's ideal in this situation. Low sugar bactericides, ones that feed on starch, not ones that feed on sugar. So you want to be doing sauerkraut, fermented vegetables, maybe some coconut kefir if that's doable, but definitely not kombucha, because kombucha's got a lot of sugar in, so you're kind of negating the good effects of the bacteria. And zinc is vitally important. Now, zinc is one of those things, if you've got low zinc, you're likely to get Candida, and lots of people with low zinc get lots of skin infections. So that's just something to think about when you think you've got Candida. Definitely to take a bit of zinc. One other symptom of low zinc actually is diarrhea, a lot of diarrhea and gut problems. So sometimes it's as simple as taking zinc, and that will sort your gut problems out. So look out for those signs and symptoms of low zinc. The white bits on your nails, the dry flaky skin around here, dandruff, depression, bulimia, anorexia. Those are all signs and symptoms of low zinc. So just look out for those, fussy eaters, that kind of thing. So just look out for all of that. Things that you need to consider, you've got your immune system to consider. Is your immune system dominant with Th1 or Th2? Is it nice? Do you ever get coughs and colds? You get too many coughs and colds? You never get coughs and colds. One or the other, there's a problem there. So you need to look at that. Do you suffer from autoimmune conditions, or are you totally fine and you get your 2 colds a year? That's a nice balanced immune system. If you get lots of hives, then your immune system's, not balanced so well. So you really need to check your immune system out. You need to also check about heavy metals. Have you got any heavy metals in the environment? What is here? What is in your body? Mercury. A lot of people with Candida have lots of mercury in their system, and the mercury actually destroys the gut lining and actually proliferates the growth of the Candida, as well as making you deficient in zinc. So it's kind of like there's a few things going on there. Mercury is definitely lots of fish. So canned tuna has lots of mercury in. Lots of farmed fish will have higher amounts of mercury. So just be careful with how often you eat these things. If you're having a can of tuna daily, that's not going to be good for you. Not going to be good for you. If you're having it occasionally, ad hoc, because that's just all you've got, or you're out, or that kind of thing, that's fine. But just be really careful with mercury that you might be consuming, because mercury does destroy the gut. So you need to be really, really careful. You can do heavy metal tests. Hair mineral analysis will give you a good indication on what's going on with your heavy metals and minerals. So that's something you can do if you suspect you've had exposure to heavy metals. Mercury and aluminium and lead are probably the ones that I've seen most when I've done the heavy metal testing. So those are just the ones to consider. But you can take things like silica, like zinc, like your chlorella, just to help your body excrete these and get rid of them. But you just need to be careful if the gut's a little bit fragile. You do need to. I got asked this question today about Candida mushrooms. Someone said, "Oh, I've been told mushrooms are bad for Candida, so should I stay away from them?" Look, it's a bit controversial. That yes, they're a fungi. Whether or not they feed Candida, I don't get strict on the mushrooms. What I'm strict on are the sugars. The sugars feed Candida, and also other molds. So other molds and other yeasts you need to be careful with. Brewer's yeast is a no-no. So some people take brewer's yeast as a supplement, and it's in some supplements, so you need to be really careful. It's in some natural vitamins. They pack the vitamins together because the brewer's yeast contains B vitamins, but it's just yeast, and that's going to you'll be sensitive to that, and it might exacerbate this Candida. Vegemite and Marmite you need to be careful of, because they will exacerbate, and they will you might become sensitive to those, and they might cause some gut problems. And then rancid grains and rancid nuts and seeds. If you smell nuts and seeds that are rancid and they've got mold growing on them, they're just going to exacerbate internally. So you really need to be careful about the quality of the food you're ingesting, and just making sure that it's not worsening your symptoms and it's not allowing the Candida to proliferate more. Also, environment. Have you got mold in your house? If you suffer from nightmares, or kids suffer from bedwetting, or you have really vivid dreams, or I was going to say something else and I can't remember, really vivid dreams, or even hallucinations, or feeling on edge in your house, or there's just nothing not quite right, or a kid thinks there's a ghost or something like that, then you need to just have a think about, have I got mold in the environment? You know that a lot of studies have been done now, not studies, but there's theories about why people see ghosts in old houses. Really interesting. But they're saying now that it's the toxins, the toxic mold is actually changing the brain waves in a way, and it's allowing you to hallucinate, which is really interesting. So they're saying that's why in old houses there's always people that can see things, because there's a lot of mold, and it's a toxic mold, it's a byproduct. So even spraying mold, if you've got lots of mold in your bathroom or whatever, and you spray the mold with bleach, it's the byproduct which you'll have issues with. So you need to be really careful, and you need to make sure you've got rid of that mold effectively. There are really great people. There's Dr. Cameron Jones, I think. Is it Dr. Cameron Jones? I'll try and find his website. They do full-on testing, they do air testing, they do really good cleaning, they use really great equipment, but you can just get a HEPA air filter or something like that if you suspect toxic mold, or you suspect that's an issue around. I would really invite you to explore this more, because if it's in your environment, it can really damage your health, mental health, and everything else. And if you've got Candida, you won't be able to get rid of Candida in an environment where there's mold around. They communicate to one another. They do communicate to one another, and that's why you might get the nightmares, or you might get the vivid dreams. So that's just something to bear in mind as well. Methylation and MTHFR, if you've got methylation issues or you've got MTHFR, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to get rid of Candida until you've treated the methylation issue. So always, if you treat the Candida with lots and lots of antimicrobials and you haven't treated the methylation, your body's just going to reabsorb all those toxins, all the byproducts. It's going to cause fatigue, it's going to cause bloating, sickness, and it's going to cause more problems. So please don't treat it until you've dealt with the underlying cause. Liver, you know, if you've got a sluggish liver or your liver's not detoxing properly or you've got fatty liver, it's going to be difficult to get rid of the Candida. So you just need to think about that. And then also your lymphatic system. If your lymphatic system is clogged up from other stuff, clogged up from hormones, clogged up from bacteria, clogged up from immune cells, clogged up from deodorant that you wear, clogged up from moisturizer that you put on yourself. Your lymphatic system is a nice river laying on the upper level of the skin that helps to cleanse the skin and detox through the armpits and elsewhere on the skin. And so you need those channels to be really clear. And if they get clogged up with everything else, they won't be able to remove the Candida itself, the Candida toxin. So you might get fatigue, chronic fatigue symptoms, those kind of things. So you can do things like infrared saunas to help with your lymphatic system. You can do dry skin brushing, and you can do beautiful herbs like cleavers and nettle, which are wonderful for the lymphatic system. They really help to cleanse the lymphatic system. So those are some things you can do just to gently assist the lymphatic system to get rid of everything. And you know what? Don't wear deodorant. Don't wear deodorant if you're trying to get rid of these things, because you need it to come out here. You need the junk to come out of the armpits. If you get it stuck in the armpits, it's gonna be just moving around and around and around. It's gonna be trying to get out, but it's gonna find it difficult. So really assist your body. You can even get a lymphatic massage as well, but really help your body to get rid of all of that junk. That's kind of the best advice there. There are other antimicrobials like burdock, black walnut, cat's claw, oregano, golden seal, barberry. Have I missed some? You know, you've got garlic. So you've got all of those nice antimicrobials, and they are quite good antimicrobials. There have been studies done on those antimicrobials. So you might want to take a light antimicrobial occasionally, but I would really encourage you to deal with the issue, the underlying cause, before you go in and bombard and try and get rid of this Candida, because it will cause more problems. You know, I do hear of people going in complete antimicrobial kind of thing and getting fatigued and getting sick, and so you just need to be gentle on yourself and just be wary of that. So having said that, if you feel like you've got all these symptoms of Candida, you feel like you've got the chronic fatigue or the foggy headed, you've got bloating, you're sensitive to alcohol, you're sensitive to when you have yeasty things. Oh, another food, actually, this is interesting. Mince, yeah, because mince, when they mince it, it kind of aerates the actual meat itself and allows more bacteria and mold and yeast to grow on the meat, especially if it hasn't been freshly minced. So I have seen sometimes when people have Candida or sensitivity to yeast, when they eat mince, they get really bad sinus infections. So that's an interesting one. So look out for those signs. Look out for the sinus infections. That's definitely one. So I would encourage you to just start tracking things. But if you suspect you do have all these symptoms, you've got the gut problems, you've got the white tongue, you've got the sinusy things, you're itchy. Candida makes you kind of itchy. Your eyes might be itchy, your ears might be itchy. You might get that kind of itchy scalp, you're like, oh, itchiness everywhere. Coupled with everything else, I would really encourage you, that's possible Candida symptoms. But I would always say test to figure out if it is Candida, because it could be something else just masking the symptoms. It could be a food intolerance. Like I say, it could be other bacteria like your Klebsiella, your staph, your strep. So just figure out those first and figure out if it is Candida, because you don't want to be going down the rabbit hole of trying to fix the Candida when it is actually something else. So do the test first, the blood test at the GP. You can do a stool analysis with your GP or your holistic practitioner or your naturopath, and they'll be able to identify if there's any other bacterias and anything else going on. But if you suspect, or if you've been tested, The first thing I would say is you just have to figure out, refocus your efforts. Why were you susceptible? What happened in the first place that you were susceptible? Is it estrogen dominance? Is it your diet? Is it food intolerance? Is it liver? Is it gallbladder? Is it methylation issues, MTHFR? So try and figure out why you've got it in the first place. If you know that you've just had a lifetime of sugar and you've just been eating sugar and sugar and sugar and that's what it is, then let's sort the diet out. So the diet would be the first place to start. Let's take everything else out that feeds bacteria and yeast and candida. Let's take that out of the diet. We have you good quality proteins and good starches like legumes, some sweet potatoes, pumpkin, that kind of thing. Lots and lots of fibrous leafy green vegetables. Let's try and take any lactose out and stick to fruits that are heirloom fruits, heirloom varieties. Don't go for those super duper brand new seedless, extra sugary kind of things, or a certain mini apple they've managed to create in the last couple of years, because all these new creations of fruit, they're just higher in sugar. So just be careful with those, particularly those kind of non-seedless things. And so try and go with older varieties. Try and go with the ones that are less sweet, like a green apple as opposed to a Fuji apple. Older style fruit varieties. You'll always notice, like whenever I go home in summertime to England and I have an old English apple, the apples so much sourer than say the newer varieties that I've tasted over here. I hadn't had a Fuji before I come here. It was mainly Braeburns over there and Golden Granny Smith, I think, Golden Delicious, but quite sour. So they're less sugary. But you just need to take the food out. So just take the food out, which is the sugars. Then you need to work on the liver. You've got to support the liver. You've got to give the liver some nice milk thistle. Give the liver some nice amino acids like methionine. Give the liver some nice B vitamins like your B12s, your B9s, your B6s. Get your liver working, support it really well, get that liver strong. So when you do decide to get rid of that candida once and for all, your liver's working really well. If your liver's not functioning, all these efforts are not going to work effectively. So first work on your liver, then work on your gallbladder at the same time. Take some nice ox bile, globe artichoke, get your gallbladder working really well. People have had failure. People have had issues with livers, issues with gallbladders because they've gone straight in for the antimicrobial issue and it's too much of a strain on our bodies. We need those to be working beautifully. If your gallbladder is holding the bile nicely and doing what it needs to do, your body's going to be so protected. So work on the liver and gallbladder first. Do the diet, take out all the sugary stuff, take out all the food. Just do a really nice, healthy, high fiber, protein, fish, minimal protein, nice fats in there, and take out any rancid food. Don't buy the really cheap coconut oil in the supermarket that's full of mold. Don't buy anything that smells moldy. Don't buy the nuts that are in the those containers, the loose containers. Make sure everything's as fresh as you can get it. Make sure there's no mold. That's the best advice with that kind of food because that will feed. Once you've worked on your liver and your gallbladder, then you can do, and you've done the diet, then you can do some gut work. You can start putting good bacteria, 20 billion lactobacilli bacteria. You can start feeding the good bacteria. You can start giving a little bit of slippery elm, a little bit of starch. You can start feeding the lining of your gut. You can start giving a bit of glutamine, a little bit of zinc, a little bit of aloe vera. You can do all of that nice and gently and start feeding. Once you've got all of those ducks in a row, then reassess. And this is about 6 weeks, so you haven't even started killing anything, and we were already 6 weeks into working on the liver, working on the gallbladder. So do that all first, and then once you're there, reassess where you are. How are you feeling? How are your symptoms? What's going on? Do you need some more support? So keep supporting your body, Only then, once you've been doing this for a long time, and the candida is still an issue, and you've worked on your environment, there's no mold in your house, your diet's doing well, and you've refocused your efforts to what is a causative factor. Is it methylation? Have I worked on my estrogen? Only once you've done all of that, then do you decide, once you know it's candida, to go into an antimicrobial, because you might not have to do that. Then you might go into an antifungal. If it's very, very severe cases, some people might go to a professional GP and get an antimicrobial. They can damage the gut lining and they can destroy the good bacteria. So that's kind of your last resort, you know, but if you have to, you have to. Only then you might want to do your barberry, your cat's claw, your oregano oil, but you want to keep doing all that good bacteria, because maybe just doing the good bacteria will push the candida aside, because that's what we want to ultimately do. So that would be what I would recommend. That's how you would treat candida. Don't go in there and bombard it and kill it like you're using weed killer, because you're only going to do more damage. It's a really structured approach, and it's about building up your whole digestive system, which includes your liver, your gallbladder, your whole digestive tract, your stomach, your acid. Only then would you work on the other areas. So I hope that has helped you all. I know we had some questions. I know one of the questions was about mushrooms, and I'm kind of okay with mushrooms. I don't think, mushrooms are quite therapeutic themselves. Some people can be sensitive to yeast and to savoury yeast flakes when you've got candida, just because you're just sensitive to yeast. So just be careful with yeasty foods as well, because they can feed and they can proliferate, and also you might be sensitive to that. They'll make you bloated. But other than that, just stick to, breakthrough diet. Stick to, I've got the cleanse, 3-day cleanse. That's the kind of diet that would work well. Low sugar fruits, lots and lots of vegetables, some protein and fats, that kind of thing. So I hope that was helpful. I hope that was useful for you all. And I think I got to all the questions. If you're watching the replay, just feel free to pop some questions in the comments below about candida and its relationship to estrogen, and also, how to tackle it and whether you've got it or not. So pop your questions in. I'll be more than happy to answer those. So have a great day, everyone. Hope that was helpful, and just pop any questions or comments below and I will get back to you. So take care. Thanks, Kim. Bye. Thank you.